I curated the display of charms in the case behind me. They were used between about 150 and 80 years ago, and they were used in England. They were collected by two men. One was called Edward Lovett. He was actually from near this museum, from Croydon. He was what you might call a gentleman collector. And he said that he didn't believe really in the power of these charms, and that his interest in them was as a scientist. The other collector was called Alfred Rowlett, and he was from the town of St Neots in Cambridgeshire. And amongst many different things, he was also a traditional healer, a folk healer. And he would have used charms like these in his healing practices. So we can imagine that Rowlett probably did believe in the power of these charms. So some of the charms are a really common form of English charm, sometimes called a hag stone. They're a stone with a naturally occurring hole through the middle, like this one. And there's many different beliefs associated with hag stones, one of which is if you hold it up and look through it, it will help you spot if someone's a witch. There's other quite weird things in this case. For example, there's a selection of dried mole's feet. These were sometimes used as charms against toothache because a mole's foot looks a little bit like a human tooth. And also they were used as charms against cramp in your hands. And presumably here the association is that mole's paws are such incredible burrowing tools that if you carry a mole's paw with you, you get some of that power of the paw, and it helps you alleviate the cramp in your hands. There's some really poignant objects in the case as well. Those were charms made by soldiers during the First World War. And often they were made from materials that actually would have harmed the soldiers, like shrapnel from exploding bombs or shells or bits of bullets. And the idea here is that by making a charm from something that would harm you, you turn that thing's power against it, and you thereby protect yourself. And I think this shows just how remarkably resilient and creative people can be in the face of danger. And if we think back to Lovett, the skeptic, when his son went off to the First World War, Lovett took off his top hat and he cut the shape of a cat out of the black fabric of the hat. Then he gave it to his son and he said, "Look, keep this with you while you're in the trenches." And his son did make it alive to the end of the war.